Good morning, committee. Welcome back after your little break. We have on the agenda, we have a couple of hearings we're going to take care of today. But first, I want to get point of privilege for Senator Francisco as the introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an intern who started working with me just today, Alex Baldwin. He's at the back of the room. I'll just ask him to stand up. So Alex is a student at Washburn and should be with me at most of these meetings the rest of the session. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Welcome, Alex. Glad you're here. Okay, committee. Well, first thing we want to do is the minutes were sent out, and we want to approve the minutes from February clear up until the last meeting. So I need a motion to approve the minutes. Senator Alley made a motion. Or a second by Senator Dahl. Approve the minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Minutes are approved. First off, committee, we're going to start with the hearing on House Bill 2102, packaging eggs, and I would ask for the reviser. Tamara, right there, I see the windows open, so why don't you tell us about the egg bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, committee. House Bill 2102 would clarify egg repackaging requirements for retailers, specifically for eggs repackaged at grade A or AA. Subsection A states that a retailer may repackage eggs as long as the standards in subsections B or C are met. Subsection B provides the standards for repackaging grade B eggs, and subsection C provides the standards for repackaging eggs at a grade higher than B. The language in subsection B has been updated for clarity, but there are no substantive changes to the requirements for repackaging eggs graded at B. Repackaged eggs may be graded at higher than B if the standards in subsection C are met, and to repackage undamaged eggs from damaged containers at higher than grade B, the bill would require eggs to be placed into containers that are already labeled with the same distributor and packer information, including the Kansas Egg License Number or USDA plant number. It would also address some labeling and record keeping requirements for those eggs, but maintain the health protection requirements. The bill also contains a number of technical cleanup amendments. The bill would take effect upon publication in the statute book, and I will note that the bill passed the House on a vote of 123-2. And I will also note that a similar version of this bill was heard by the committee last year, but died on general orders, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Tamara. Any questions for the reviser? Senator Ware.
I guess my only question on this one is, what changes were there from last year? In any substantial ones?
If I remember correctly, and I haven't reviewed last year's bill in a lot of detail, but a lot of it was just sort of language cleanup, like making things consistent and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the reviser? Seeing none, thank you, Tamara. We'll be after you on the next bill here before we get done the hearing on this one. So we'll begin with proponents for House Bill 2102, and we'll start with Kelsey Olson of Kansas Department of Agriculture. Welcome to committee, Kelsey.
Good morning, Chairman Kirshen and members of this committee. My name is Kelsey Olson, and I serve as the Deputy Secretary of the Kansas Department of Agriculture. With me today online is Steve Morris. He is our Food Safety and Lodging Program Manager, and he will be answering any questions I can't answer for you today. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on this bill. House Bill 2102 does, as Tamara described, remove some unnecessary labeling and record-keeping requirements, but while ensures that keeping eggs safe for the consumer is not jeopardized or the public health is still maintained. KDA's Food Safety and Lodging Program is responsible for administering the Kansas Egg Law and has that authority to enter into any premise that sells eggs. The proposed amendments will allow greater flexibility for retailers, allowing eggs to be repackaged as grade A under the proper conditions without adding unnecessary labeling requirements. With that, I stand as a proponent and will answer any questions you have at the right time.
Okay, thank you, Kelsey. Any questions for Kelsey? Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just remind me about the differences between grade A and grade B and why grade A is not addressed is it addressed in another part of our statutes?
I will actually, if I may, turn that over to Steve Morris to provide that technical information.
Good morning. My name is Steve Morris, Program Manager for the Food Safety and Lodging Program. Thank you for that question. The actual main difference between grade A and grade B is the size of the egg. It also has differences in the quality of the egg. I hope that answered your question, Senator.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a follow-up, if eggs are repackaged, then they are always marked as grade B, or can they be repackaged as grade A?
So now under this law change, it can be, they can be repackaged under grade A as long as they are being packaged with the same type of egg that is currently in that carton, to where, like in the past or currently, any food establishment that would repack eggs would have to take perfectly good grade A eggs and like make them grade B just because of having one or two broken eggs in a carton.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Senator Pack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm apparently missing something here. This just smacks to me of big government, because we got a grocer who's got a couple broken eggs in a carton, so they decide to move the other 10 to another carton that had a couple, and is that repackaging?
That is considered repackaging. And the way the law would currently stand is that they would have to record that information, what lot both packages came from, and note that they combined those in order to resell that and that to be an eligible product. This bill actually removes that additional record keeping component and allows them, as Steve mentioned, to keep that same grade level without downgrading the higher quality eggs.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just amazed that if we've got a grocery store and you got a grocer who's moving eggs that aren't broken from a carton that's got some broken, and they have to document that. I do that in the grocery store myself. If I pick up a carton, there's a couple broken eggs in it, I'll move them around. And I didn't realize I was breaking the law by repackaging eggs.
I was wondering who was doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Like she said, the idea is to make it more efficient in the recording part of it, so. Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I carried this bill on the House floor last year. Grade B eggs are not sold in grocery stores, are they? Aren't grade B eggs used for, manufacturing, making different products?
Typically, grade B are for like baking in the baking industry and the food manufacturing. You will not often find grade B eggs in stores. I believe that there's like some are able to do that, but typically you're only going to see grade A or double A.
One follow-up too, the grocery stores also have to follow USDA regulations when repackaging these eggs also. I know it sounds absolutely insane that we have to do this, but the current law is actually even more strict than what this is.
Any other questions? Senator Francisco.
Thank you. And apologies, Mr. Chair, this is a question for a revisor. So if we're reading this, the difference about repackaged eggs, so many of the requirements for grade B are the same as the requirements for grade A. Is that
Yes, that's
correct?
correct.
So we've listed it twice. We've said these are the requirements. Repackaged eggs may be graded as grade B if the following standards are met. And I think the first 4 standards are the same as those graded higher than grade B.
Yes, we've just separated the grade B eggs in subsection B, and then subsection C is specific to those higher than grade B.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. Any other questions for? Thank you very much, Kelsey. Our next proponent is Michael Neal on behalf of Walmart, and welcome to the committee, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. As Tamara pointed out, this is sort of our second go-around. This bill passed the House, and the Senate committee last year died on general orders because of the COVID early adjournment, and so we're back again. For Senator Ware, the only differences in the bill between last year and this year are literally revise or cleanup. There are absolutely no substantive changes, and in fact, second time around actually improved the bill because it was a little bit clunky to read last year. There were a lot of questions and some confusion about wording, and Kyle Hamilton, the reviser on the House side, did a good job of addressing some of those questions, and so most of the things that you see are cleanup. From the standpoint of Walmart, my client, they're all about subsection C. So the real peanut of this is separating out the lower than grade A eggs from grade A and above. As was pointed out, the grade B eggs are seldom, wouldn't say never, but seldom will you see a grade B egg. And I've actually got a chart here showing the difference, and I'll just very quickly, the difference between a grade A egg and a grade B egg. Grade A eggs are the second highest quality eggs. You got grade AA, which is the highest quality. And the type most commonly sold in grocery stores, the yolk of the grade A egg must meet the same standards as a grade AA, standing up high and free from defects. The white is the biggest difference between a grade A and AA. Grade A whites are slightly less thick and firm than grade AA's, and the shells of the grade A's must be clean, although minor defects are accepted. Unlike grade AA, grade A eggs are suitable for most any kind of baking or cooking need. And then grade B, by contrast, are the lowest quality of eggs available for purchase. Grade B eggs are rarely sold in stores and are commonly used for commercial liquid and powdered egg products. And then it's just standards of thickness and quality of the yolk and that sort of thing are just not up to par. The USDA standards must be met initially before they're even considered in Kansas, but the department, of course, handles it from there. And it was somewhat inadvertent that they all got lumped together in terms of that strict record keeping. And so Walmart and other retailers are interested in having there be a distinction, which USDA recognizes, between the higher grade eggs and the lower grade eggs in terms of what would be required for repackaging. So this is just clarification. We would come under subsection C, and you're right, there are a few things that are common in terms of the requirements between the grade B and the grade AA, but the thing that's different about the Bs are the more stricter record keeping. The department does not feel that is necessary. We do not feel that is necessary. And at this point, I just remind the committee that we worked initially with the department to come up with something that would be workable for the department. Walmart has a keen interest in food safety and want to live up to all the standards that are required. But in Kansas, those requirements were actually unnecessarily more restrictive than even the USDA. And the department, as you just heard, is very willing to have this segregation between those eggs covered under subsection B and those under subsection C. Hopefully that wasn't too terribly confusing, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions the committee might have.
All right, thank you very much. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here today. The question I have is this a big problem? I mean, what I'm looking at is how many, what's your breakage, how much repackaging do they do?
Yeah, it is not uncommon to have the need for some level of repackaging. And if the regulations get too strict, it was almost easier for the retailer to throw out the entire dozen than to comply with all the record-keeping requirements. I personally had that experience over the weekend. I check a box. I think most everybody checks their egg cartons when they buy. I had one that was broken. Brought that to the attention of the individual. They brought me another one, but that was probably going to go in the back room, and they were going to consolidate. And they can do that if it's the same lot. So it came in the same shipment, and so they have the information as to where it came in. And as long as they're complying with the same lot numbers and that sort of thing, they can consolidate. You would think that customers like Senator Peck would not be causing problems by doing that, but currently, under current state law, if the retailer wasn't aware of that, they technically would be out of compliance with the record-keeping requirements of having him move one fresh egg into a broken egg container. And if their own staff had done that, they would technically be under these stricter guidelines. So it's a short answer to your question is it's not uncommon to have to do some repackaging.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for being here.
Very kind. I expected some really cheesy egg.
Haven't left yet.
Yeah, okay, all right. Particularly maybe from somebody on that side of the room.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay, committee, there are no more proponents in person for this particular bill. And I'll ask does anybody else want to testify in favor of House Bill 2102? I'd ask if anybody wants to testify neutral on House Bill 2102. Seeing none, would anybody prefer to testify against House Bill 2102? Seeing none, we will close the hearing on House Bill 2102 and move our attention to House Bill 2103. And we will begin with Reviser Tamara. Take us to House Bill 2103.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2103 should be pretty familiar to you. Not only did the committee hear a version of this bill last year, you also heard it in the form of Senate Bill 38 earlier this year. I will note that this committee did amend Senate Bill 38 slightly on page 3 for clarification regarding identifiable owners or responsible parties. So the bill you have in front of you is not exactly identical to Senate Bill 38, but they're pretty close. So now I'll get into 2103. So House Bill 2103 would establish a pesticide waste disposal program and would allow up to $50,000 to be transferred annually from the Kansas Agricultural Remediation Fund to the Kansas Pesticide Waste Disposal Fund. New Section 1 would establish the Kansas Pesticide Waste Program for the purpose of collecting and disposing of pesticide waste. The program would be administered by the Secretary of Agriculture. New Section 2 would establish the Kansas Pesticide Waste Disposal Fund. The money in that fund would be used to collect and dispose of pesticide waste as part of the Pesticide Waste Disposal Program. The Kansas Agricultural Remediation Board would be authorized to approve an annual transfer of monies from the existing remediation fund to the Kansas Pesticide Waste Disposal Fund in an amount that does not exceed $50,000. The Secretary of Agriculture would be required to send a report to the Remediation Board on or before January 1 of each year concerning expenditures made for the program. Sections 3 and 4 of the bill are mandatory and ensure the existing act properly includes the new program and the new fund. In particular, Section 3 would add relevant definitions, and Section 4 would add the funding of the pesticide waste disposal program that was created by Section 1 to the existing list of purposes of the remediation reimbursement program. The bill would take effect upon publication in the statute book. And I will note that this bill did pass the House on a vote of 123 to 0, and Senate Bill 38 passed the Senate on a vote of 35 to 2, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Tamara. Committee, any questions for the reviser? Not seeing any, thank you very much. We'll begin then with proponent testimony. We will start with Kelsey Olson from the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Welcome back, Kelsey.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a pleasure to stand here again before you today. I'm here as well as Gary Meyer, our pesticide and fertilizer program manager. He is virtually on WebEx. We are very excited about the possibility of creating the pesticide waste disposal program. As you might recall from earlier in testimony, the Kansas Department of Agriculture had a grant program in 2016 to 2018. Those funds were awarded to us by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. During those 2 years, we were able to remove almost 26,000 pounds of unwanted pesticides that were leaking or causing problems on a property or simply needed disposed of. We were able to do so with a contract with Clean Harbors. The state has a contract in place that allows us to remove those products at almost 2/3 of the cost of it would be to a private individual. Similarly, we received some funding from the EPA in the fall of 2020. We received 14 applications almost within the first 2 weeks. We've been able to remove a little over, we've spent about $6,000 of that on 5 different applications, and we had, in the remaining other applications in the next 6, there was a cost of almost $70,000 to remove the remaining products that had been applied for. So certainly there's a need out there, and the existing funding that we've had has not been able to, been sufficient to support this program. And we see that this program would provide a lot of benefit to individuals and businesses throughout the state, and are excited to support this program. I'm staying for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelsey. Any questions for Kelsey? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next, we have Abby Goins from the Kansas Grain and Feed Association. Welcome back to our committee, Abby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm excited to be able to be with you this morning to offer proponent testimony on House Bill 2103. My name is Abby Goins, and I'm originally from Oswego, Kansas. I'm currently a student at Kansas State University and a member of the Kansas Food and Ag Policy Fellowship Program. And with my time this semester, I'm here representing Kansas Grain and Feed Association and the Kansas Agribusiness Retailers Association. So as the past speakers have said, this is a familiar bill, one that you've seen in the form of Senate Bill 38. This is establishing the Kansas Pesticide Waste Disposal Program and allowing it to be funded through a permissive allotment of up to $50,000 from the Kansas Agri-Mediation Fund. You'll recall that that fund is financed through licensing fees paid by grain elevators and agri-retailers. This is through their licensing fees for pesticides and fertilizers. Industry was approached about using excess funds to support the pesticide waste disposal program, and we stood in support of that and felt that it was a good use of our funds that were in excess. So as mentioned before, there was an amendment placed on Senate Bill 38. As this was a non-substantive amendment, we would have no opposition if the committee chose to adopt that for House Bill 2103 as well. So with that, I know that this is familiar language and I don't want to take too much of your time. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today, and I would certainly stand for questions at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you very much, Abby. Any questions for Ms. Goins? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. You did a really nice job there, Abby. Next on our list is Shahira Stafford from the Kansas Cooperative Council. Welcome to committee.
103, thank you. My name is Shahira Stafford, and I'm here representing the Kansas Cooperative Council. There's not much more that I can say that the reviser and Kelsey and Abby have not said, but the reason that the KCC is here today is that our ag co-op members also pay into the Ag Remediation Program Fund license fees, and so our board of directors and membership has also approved that this money coming out of the Ag Remediation Fund be transferred to KDA to help support the pesticide waste removal program. Like other independent companies on the grain and feed side, our co-ops also believe that this is a good use of their dollars to make sure that we are disposing of waste materials responsibly and safely. And so, and again, on Senate Bill 38, that committee that you did hear and amend, we are also supportive of that change if you wish to make that on this bill as well. With that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Shahira? Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do you know if the House might be considering Senate Bill 38?
So I know that it is on the calendar for House Ag to hear the bill next week. However, there's been some discussion with the chair that hearing might get pulled, and as they've already passed their bill, it might just go to conference with 38 and 2103 as it stands. But I'm not sure if that's been a final decision made, but I know that there's just some discussions happening.
So, Mr. Chair, my only concern was that I think this committee did make a good amendment. I hate to see the bill printed once again if it's possible for the House to act on that bill, but that's a matter for trying to figure out what's on whose calendar and where we're going. Thank you.
Any other questions for Shahira? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anybody else that wants to testify in favor of House Bill 2103? Any other proponents? Seeing none, or does anybody want to testify neutral? Seeing none. Anyone want to testify as an opponent? Seeing none. Committee, I would draw your attention to the written-only proponent testimony on our agenda. Josh Rowe from the Commodities Group, John Donnelly from Kansas Farm Bureau, and Shelby Rowell, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, as written only. So there were no opponents across the board. So any final questions on the bill? If not, we will close the hearing on House Bill 2103. And that concludes the business we have for today. We are planning to meet tomorrow. We have, for one reason or other, we have extra bills from the House that were pillaged, and so we were going to go back and do them over again. Any other questions, committee? Does anybody want, you have any remarks? All from their proponents. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you. We will be meeting tomorrow too, as I said before. Thank you.